Welcome to the Pastor Chira Show. I'm Pastor Chira, and today we launch. We launch into new territory. We launch into new mindset. We launch into new relationship. Are you ready to launch out? Come on and launch out with me as we go into this conversation on today. So I know I look a little different than I usually do when we do the Pastor Chira Show. And that's because we have a few things going on. We have some things that are happening with us. And in some of that transition and in the happenings, I have a very special guest with us on today. And that is none other than my father. Yes, my natural father, Pastor Bernard C. Smith of the Mount Vernon Baptist Church. He's going to join us in our conversation today, and you're going to see that he looks, yes, a little different today as well. See, we kind of matching. Look at us. We twins. We twins. But I want to thank you for joining me on today for this show. But before we get into a conversation, can you just tell the viewing audience who you are and who you are? Just introduce yourself a little bit.
Just introduce myself.
Just introduce yourself, yes.
Well then, hi everyone. I am Pastor Bernard C. Smith, pastor at Mount Vernon Baptist Church. And it's a joy to be here again with Pastor Chira, my daughter, natural daughter that is. I have a few other daughters that are not natural, but they're adopted. And I appreciate all of them. But it's good to be here with Chira. And to be able to be with you, to see what's going on. So whatever Chira says do, that's what we're doing today.
Whatever Chira says do, that's what we're doing. A lot of people say that. A lot of people think, yeah, whatever Chira says, that's what we're going to do. But, and we do. So there are a lot of things that we do. And so you are the pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church in Germantown, in the Germantown section of Philadelphia. It is known, and we say it all the time, it's the urban church with the universal message.
Exactly.
Right? What is the universal message? What is that?
The universal message basically is just the message of Christ. Love everyone. Be kind and cognizant of who everyone is, and love God. Follow the principles of the word and see what God is saying, do what God is saying, and just allow God to be prevalent in your life.
That's the universal message.
The universal message.
The universal message is love. The universal message is Christ. The universal message is the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Right? So, and that's what we do. We spread and we show love right through Christ, through His love, through salvation. So, and how did that come to be? How did it come to be the urban church with the universal message? How did that come to be?
The universal message is the message of Christ. When we really look at what Christ is saying as we study the Word and we practice the Word, it's a universal theme. It's a theme that doesn't just involve you as an individual, but it carries your individuality into other venues. Okay. So that as you are doing what God is incorporating your life to do, you're extending that, not only extending what you're doing, but extending your love and the possibility of being able to do those things with others. So that they can come and become a part of what you're doing.
And do it as well.
I would say, so they become a part of your ministry.
That's what we do.
We do it.
That's what we do.
We consistently do it.
Consistently. It's consistent. And I'm glad you used that word consistent, because you have been consistently the pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church. Consistently. So how long have you been at the church? And then how long have you been pastoring the church? How did you come to be at Mount Vernon Baptist Church, this urban church? Because it sure is urban. Because
It's an urban church.
It's an urban church. What makes it an urban church? How did you get there? Like, what's your journey with Mount Vernon? What has that been?
That's great. It's an interesting question. You're making me think back.
I know, right? I'm making you think. I know.
Really think back to initiate the reason that I came to Mount Vernon because of my godbrothers.
Okay.
My godbrother, Pastor Floyd Wheeler. I don't know how many of you may remember Pastor Wheeler, but Floyd was at the church as an assistant pastor, and he was looking to start a youth choir in the church. And he started screaming and hollering at me, I need. I'm like, well, go find.
Right.
So as he kept saying, I need, and I kept saying, go find.
Right.
He was saying, but I found.
Yes.
So I eventually decided to quiet him down a little bit and to settle my nerve to go and help him start a junior choir at the church. And we began a junior choir at Mount Vernon with some young people in the community, in the neighborhood.
Really?
They were not members of the church, but they came to the church specifically to join the choir.
Okay.
And as they came and joined the choir, they gave their lives to the Lord. And in giving their lives to the Lord, they expanded. Some of them are now in ministry. Some are just in other churches, but totally involved.
Okay.
And I'm looking at how good God has been in that. While there, Pastor Floyd moved to another church, and things just began to expand.
Okay.
I hate this.
What?
I was not anticipating being a part of Mount Vernon, but I became an intricate part of Mount Vernon.
Through music first.
I joined the church, and because I was dealing with that, what we call it, the junior choir.
The youth choir, right?
Yeah, we call it a junior youth choir. I became an alternate, an active member of the church.
Okay.
I literally joined the church. Soon after that, my wife joined the church.
Right. Hi. That's how we got here, from the wife. Yeah.
So we were working together. I was playing for the choir,
Right.
and teaching music to the choir. My wife was directing.
She was directing. Yep. That was my mom. Yep.
And so we became an intricate,
Yes.
not alternate, intricate
Yes.
part of the ministry there at Mount Vernon. So we've been there for a good period of time. Other things have changed. I became a part of ministry there at the church, not only in music ministry, but I became a part of the biblical ministry of the church. And I mentioned Pastor Floyd. He left and went to another church and pastored at other churches. Pastor Wheeler,
His father.
his father, and
Right.
who was current pastor of the church,
Right.
passed. And after his passing, we went through some altercations, some changes,
things, yeah.
and I was selected as pastor of the church.
Yes. Woo.
Not because I was striving to become pastor, I was just striving to serve the Lord. But the congregation decided they wanted me to become pastor of the church, and I've been there for over 35 years now.
As the pastor.
As the pastor,
Right.
for over
So you've
35
been
years.
the pastor for over 35 years, but
Yes.
you've been at the church, at this same church.
I forget. It's more than 40 years.
It's more because I'm 40. Yeah. So, and I was born there. So you've been there since your late teen years.
Well, early 20s.
Early
to
20s.
mid 20s.
Early to mid 20s. So that's a long time. That's a long time to be at one ministry serving. serving the entire time. You have been in service to the kingdom, in service to the ministry, in service to the people,
Yeah.
and just in service. And you've given of yourself in so many ways in service. My God, today, right? In so many ways, and it has been a journey for you. It has been a journey for you. Like you said, you brought your family there. We were born there. You worked in ministry with your wife. And it was the music ministry, and that's music is a part of all of us, right? All four of us, of your natural children. Yeah, because he said there are four of us, y'all. It's four natural children, but he got a whole lot of children. But yeah, so I mean, it's a lot to say that you have been at the same location, at the same ministry.
That long.
Yeah. I mean, people don't last 25 days, let alone almost 50 years
True.
in one place.
It doesn't seem like that long as I sit here and think about it. You asked me how long has it been. You said something about mentioning how long I've been at, and I'm like, yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's longer than yesterday, y'all. It's way longer than yesterday, because it's been a long time. And so we sit here now as you, the senior pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church, and 2 years ago, I was ordained, and you made me the assistant pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church, and there are some things that are going on even right now, and we are going to go to a quick commercial break, and on the other side of the commercial, we are going to talk about some of those things and some of those changes that are happening now with Mount Vernon Baptist Church.
Sure.
And so we are going to go to a commercial, and on the other side, we're going to continue this conversation of passing of the mantle. We'll be right back. We're back, and we are back in a conversation with my father, my natural father, yes, Pastor Bernard C. Smith. He is the senior pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church, located at 458 East Rittenhouse Street in the Germantown section of Philadelphia, which is the heart of the Morton Homes community. Yes, it is the urban church with the universal message, and we are sitting here and we are having this conversation about the passing of the mantle and the history of Mount Vernon Baptist Church. And so we're going to bring him back in so that we can continue our conversation about, being in a location, being at a church for a ministry, and making sure that the ministry continues. How was that in that transition of being placed as the pastor, not necessarily, we have talked about this before, but not necessarily wanting the job, but accepting the job and the call that was placed on you? And how did that come to be? Because I know we've talked before that your the pastor that you grew up under had made this proclamation to you, and you were like, yeah, right, whatever. Which a lot of us do. A lot of us do that. But can you talk a little bit about that and becoming your walk in becoming the minister and the pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church?
Talk about my walk. Well, first of all, I gave my life to the Lord early in my age, when I was about 15.
Okay.
So I began walking with the Lord at an early age. Actually, it was earlier than that. But I began walking with the Lord and serving and studying the Word consistently. I was out of high school.
Okay.
When I literally went to be, when I literally became a minister.
Okay.
And accepted that call that God had kept indulging me with to go into ministry. So I did that. Things progressed. I was under several ministries. I associated with many churches. And as in doing so, I was, at one point, my membership was at the Met.
Okay.
I left the Met to be with Cathedral of Faith under Harold Benjamin.
Oh, yes.
And Pastor Bishop Harold Benjamin.
Yes.
I left Bishop Harold Benjamin to literally go to Mount Vernon to assist and to really start that youth choir.
That choir.
There at Mount Vernon Baptist Church. So I grew up under the Garden of Prayer, under Bishop and Mother Dabney.
Yes.
So I've had a wide range of, I don't know what word to use. But
you have a vast background, a vast ministry background.
Yeah. I've been inundated or touched by so many different things. So
Yes.
I never looked at myself as being one particular denomination.
Right.
Well, I came under the Baptist ministry really because of my godbrother.
Right.
And my godfather, Pastor Wheeler, was the pastor of the Baptist church. He was pastoring Mount Vernon. Pastor Floyd kept coming to me and said, we need a choir, we need a choir.
Right.
And he kept pulling me into the Baptist church. So I didn't change.
Right.
I didn't change my membership. I didn't change my theology. But I went to the Baptist church basically to start the choir.
Right, to teach. Right.
Not really to teach, just to start the choir.
Right.
So that on a particular 2 Sundays of a month,
right,
this youth choir could be there,
right,
and I would be there and play for them so that I could stop all the fussing and.
So you would play. So you're a musician too? Like, is you telling the people? You telling the people? Yeah. So yes, I'm gonna tell the people he's a musician too. Yes. So you've done a lot. You've done a lot in ministry. You've done a lot. You've been the pastor for 35 years, and 35 years. And so now there's a transition, and it's one that you didn't necessarily go through, because as you said, the acquirement of Mount Vernon Baptist Church, of you being the pastor, was literally because
Pastor Wheeler died.
Pastor Wheeler died, right. And so in that, there was a shift of looking for.
Exactly.
And trying to figure out, who is now going to be in this place. And because of your loyalty and your consistency, right? Because you were consistent, you were there, you made sure that things happened. You became the pastor of the church. And now there is another shift that is going on, and which is the passing of the mantle, which is what we're talking about today. So what made you, or what inspired you to not wait, no harm intended, but not wait till your dad, right, to make sure that the ministry of Mount Vernon Baptist
Very
Church...
simply, it's time.
Oh, I'm going to shut up. Go ahead.
It's time.
Okay.
As you said, I've been there for 35 years. There are some ministries, some churches that have pastors that have been there for 35, even 40, and
beyond.
Beyond. I'm thinking of one ministry that I can't name it right offhand, but I've heard, if I recall correctly, the pastor has been there almost 50 years.
Yes.
And that's a length of time.
Yes, it is.
I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at where my ministry is, and I'm looking at what our congregation is doing, and what we need to do. I'm pretty much old school.
Okay.
And when I look at my old schoolness, I'm looking at the world as it is now, and that old school mentality is not going to work so much as we're going into the congregations right now. So we're looking at what God is doing and what God is saying. And God is calling new pastorate, new ministry into the church, new views, new prospects, things that are new, not only to this church and this church community, but to the community as well. And I see God and I hear God calling you, Pastor Chira, to lead that ministry. And Pastor Chira is going to be coming. She is the assistant pastor right now, and she is the chosen coming pastor of the Mount Vernon Baptist Church. We are going to we have had that installation and that change very soon. So come, I want y'all to be there. Be there to encourage her, to be an inspiration for her.
Wow.
We're proud of you.
Thank you. So that is why we are we're sitting here on today to talk about passing the mantle and what that looks like, and why it's important that we don't wait for our leadership to die, literally, before we see a continuance and the continuation of ministry. And not just a continuation of ministry, but the continuation of ministry with the old school and the new school, because there is a lot to be said about the foundation of ministry, about how it got started, how it continued. There's a lot to be said for how ministry has been able to continue throughout the years. And yes, even in times past, right? So even when you were coming up, there were differences even from those that were before you. But we don't negate and, dismiss those things that we learned, but we carry them on, and we also do what is necessary to make sure that those of the day receive the word of God, not by changing it, but by giving it,
enhance it,
so that they understand in their way. Because all youth learn differently, right? They all learn differently. And in the time, so there are things that were not available in your time and in the times before you. So like even a show like this wasn't available. We wouldn't sit down and talk to our leaders. We wouldn't sit down like this and be able to broadcast in this way. But now we can. Now we are doing ministries, so that we are in our buildings, but we're also able to broadcast in other ways. And these are some of the things that maybe, you and others, of other generations aren't necessarily comfortable with.
True. That's true. But let me, as you're talking, I'm thinking of something altogether different.
Okay.
it's basically about you.
Oh. Oh, that part. Oh.
That part. And for Mount Vernon.
Okay.
For Mount Vernon Baptist Church, has always had a pastor. It's always been a male pastor. You are one of the few females that have come under ministry, into ministry under the Mount Vernon head. You are the only one to come to become pastor of the Mount Vernon Baptist Church. You're the only assistant pastor that is a female of the Mount Vernon Baptist Church. So you're coming into and beginning a new era at Mount Vernon.
So you're saying history is being made?
History is being made.
In all of this?
It's being written.
So there are things that are happening in the passing of this mantle. And
Exactly.
not only is the passing of the mantle from father to daughter, which
From
is
male to female.
yes, from male to female. Like there's so much even to be said,
Exactly.
even in this. Wow. You just started a whole nother conversation, but we're out of time. Oh my goodness. He just started a whole nother conversation. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us on today for the Pastor Chira Show. So, so we are here to let you know that on September the 25th at 11 a.m., I will be installed as the senior pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church. And I'm honored to accept the call of God on my life and to accept where he is taking us and where he's leading us and where he's guiding us in this time. So I want to invite each and every one of you that can and will to come out and join us for this historic occasion as Pastor Smith is retiring, and we will celebrate him on that day. And as I will take the helm as the senior pastor of the Mount Vernon Baptist Church, we still have Purpose Living Ministries, and we will still do what God is calling us to do. But I thank God for where he is taking me, what he is doing, and how he's leading me, and how he's leading us. And I invite you to come and be a part of this historic event and this momentous occasion. I thank you for joining us on the Pastor Chira Show on today. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.